The thing that I love about the Wise Guys teams is that you guys have a knack for finding the most passionate founders. They know what they're doing, they believe in what they're doing, and nothing is going to stop them.
It is really intense, I have to say, but I really enjoy it because I feel every day I'm totally evolving in this program, and I see that I have so many weapons already.
It's challenging at times. We come with a strong background of doing a lot of things at once, but it's just amazing to be next to the teams, showing all the creativity you can to help them. So it's not something you have to deliver, it's very creative work, and that's what I'm very surprised that I really like it.
I think the best of the people part always. You already know everything, but here the borders are infinite, just so much things to learn.
One of them is the passion, and the other one is how much we care about each other. Among everything, we are a team that really likes to spend time with each other, and part of that is because we all share the mission.
Because I always had the feeling that this is the family that I have.
This is not a job, this is what we love to do. I think when you can mix that one, it's great. We just have to sometimes understand that, hey, there is more people around us, and we have to put some time for them.
For us, it was mainly like a crash course startup MBA, basically, kind of. It's kind of like a bottle of good wine, kind of that keeps getting better all the time.
I mean, Wise Guys team is what keeps me energized through everyday life. When I started working with the startup scene, Wise Guys was my kind of entryway, so I feel like it's a family. I'm like an adopted startup Wise girl.
I just remember one scene from the Tech Chill 2 months ago when you had the demo day with Swedbank. Nearly all the startups were nearly crying when they said goodbye to the mentors. They can really feel the energy, and I think culture beats everything. And I also see Wise Guys as an execution machine.
Yeah, and people ask that why do you do that? There is no money, and very many accelerators have failed after a year or two. I believe that if you really want to do it, if it's your vision, and then you just can't give up, and you will figure it out how it works.
And you have to pitch at the big stage, right?
Yes. My hands are already shaking.
It's too easy for us because this whole month startup Wise Guys, every day we preaching. It's easy for us.
Now we are only going up, and only the sky is the limit.
This is love for what we do at the end of the day, and this is our life that we want to have.
I already know that when it's over, then I'm gonna cry.
3 minutes of station, now back to work.
Okay, welcome everybody. So you have decided to do a startup in 2023. Now what? This is what we are going to be talking about today. We have prepared for this to give you, a lot of insights. We are bringing up two things here. We have a beautiful panel of 3 entrepreneurs that are actually willing to share their experiences when they start up, when they left the corporate world in some cases, and they're open for your questions. And in the other hand, we also have been running some questions in LinkedIn to have a broader view of what the audience or the people who is interested in running this path believes. So to add a little bit of objectivity, we are going to be running through those and then, taking the comments from the panelists. I'm not going to present the panelists. I think they are much better equipped to do a beautiful job by themselves doing that. But I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Sergio Boracino. I'm the head of the Founders Club for Startup Wise Guys, and I'm going to be your host today. And I also wanted to introduce Davide, who is going to be my co-host today. I'm going to be paying more attention to the panelists and the slides. Davide is going to walk with us, also reading the comments and questions that we ask you to please pour into the chat. He's going to be reviewing those, and he's going to be making those for you, so the conversation will actually flow nicely. I don't want to make this boring at all. So I suggest we jump into it. Luis, can we please show the first slide? So this is one of the questions that we run in LinkedIn. This has got no statistic value whatsoever. Had to make the disclaimer. However, we have 305 people voting on this one. And it's a very basic one. How many years of work experience do you think it's needed before you can actually found a successfully startup? So you can see the results. There's no like hard opinions on this, I guess. However, I want to use this one to give the chance to the panelists to introduce themselves, talk about the age they started, the pros and cons, and tell us a little bit about themselves. Let's say, I might suggest take, please, something in between 2 and 4 minutes to do so. Anybody wants to go first? Oscar? Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here with these other panelists and with you guys. Yeah, I mean, actually, I was born in Barcelona, so I'm Spanish. By background, I'm an engineer, then I did an MBA. So I have quite good understanding of the tech and of the business side. So by background and my experience in as a professional was in an oil and gas company for more than 12 years. So I have experience on the energy space. I launched 2 companies before in the renewable energy space, and then I launched my last one, which is Nymiz, which is my actual venture. So that's more or less my background. And regardless of this question, I think it's interesting from the experience side to have this average of between 3 and 5 experience. So I launched my first company when I was, I think, 27. So I already have more than 5 years of experience. So I think it was interesting for me in order to know different parts of the business side. So that's my beginning of this conversation with the other panelists. Then I can jump into that more deep.
Thanks, Oscar. Marti, you want to comment? Introduce yourself.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for the silver medal for me. So Argo, you will get the bronze. I am from Estonia. I founded company called Sport ID in 2012. We joined Startup Wise Guys in 2013. We were the second batch in Startup Wise Guys. I sold this company, which is now called Stebby, and I sold it last year to Livonia Partners. And now I'm building another great venture, which is called FitQ Studio, and we are building a platform for personal trainers to sell their knowledge to people who want to become more fit. But coming to the question that was asked, there are actually 2 ways to answer to that slide. And the first is the best time to start your new venture was yesterday, and the second best time is today. But more sophisticated approach and more scientific approach that has also been according to the studies is that, of course, it is more likely that your second startup will be successful than your first. Like everyone who is building the second company does it better than the first. That's quite logical, because you can correct your previous mistakes. You are much smarter and more experienced. But there is always a but, like we say. You cannot have the second company unless you have started the first. So we are getting back to the first part of my response. So start today is the best time. if you haven't already.
Great. Thanks for the comments. Argo.
Yes, hello, my name is Argo Rannamets, and Marti, you know that the winner is announced last. So I'd like to turn it around. You said the silver medal, who got the gold then? I've been in, I'm a co-founder of Quota. I've been involved in different executive positions over more than 20 years by now. And just recently came away from corporation. Have had different roles in different countries over the years, also board positions in different entities and different functions all over the regions around here. I'm Estonian. By the background, I'm coming from finance and managerial accounting, but today more into culture things, people, things like this. I've studied psychology to the top of financing, and if someone today asks me what is my mission, then I quite often respond and say that my mission is to increase the self-confidence of all the employees. So this is who I am. By the character, I like structures, principles, systems. I like to fix things. The messier it is, the better it is for me. And this is how it goes. Coming to the question, what you said earlier and presented earlier, what is the right age to start? At the time when we were founding Quota, we found out that a couple of years before that, Harvard Business Review came out with an article and said that the average age of successful founder was 45. And actually, this article is still available. I just checked it before coming to here. So we believe that, and that was the reason why we founded Quota at the time when our average age of the founders was 45. So bit of background, several years of experience from the corporation, things, what to take along, what not to take along, these were quite clear.
Just to clarify, Argo, in that article you are mentioning, they say 45 to be successful after founding or to found?
It was saying about successful or the founders of successful startups. Not all the startups, but the successful startups. So
yes, if I may, then I have also heard the same number, and at least approximately the same, and that is actually a lot of this data that about startups, when to start, how many co-founders you should have, etc., is actually very interesting book which you find in Audible, but in other sources as well. Perhaps is called Super Founders by Ali Damaseb. Which I recommend to read. There is this number is mentioned as well, and this is taken from the studies.
Great.
Thank you for this recommendation, Marti, Argo, Oscar, and for this first round. I see a comment in the chat by Gatlin. Sorry for the pronunciation if it's wrong. She thanks you for sharing your knowledge and experience. Thank you, Gatlin, for participating in the panel, and don't be afraid to ask questions. As Marti said, the best time to become an entrepreneur is today. Probably it can start with a question in the chat, so don't be afraid to ask.
Guys, as we talk about the age, I'm wondering, what are the real drivers behind success? We cannot isolate this and talk only about age or experience. And, in my case, I was working for corporate and I ran to entrepreneurial. I didn't do a startup like you guys. I bought a small company, turn it around, and then sell it. But there are a couple of things that just pop into my mind as things that really helped me. That were that, by the time I decided to do this, I got a solid financial plan. And even though I suffer with a relationship with my wallet afterwards, because you are used to get a fat salary by the end of the month with corporate, and then you get nothing, right? You get hope. And the other one was, the amount of people that depends on you. Most of the times, not always, but most of the times, as year passes by, you get responsibility over others. In your cases, guys, do you think this is critical or not? Or I don't know if any of you want to make a comment over this.
What is critical? What do you mean?
I mean, two things: being financially prepared on one end, and do it in the moment where your burn rate as an entrepreneur is not that high.
Okay. My experience regarding this is that it is not critical. You can do it even if you are not financially prepared. But then if you don't have money, then obviously you have to have something else. You have to have maybe a little bit more nerves, and you have to handle a little bit bigger stress, because obviously that is what it brings if you start it without money.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the financial skills are very, very interesting, but are not, are necessary. But you can also start a business without this knowledge, and you can learn by during the process. Regarding the second question, I think in terms of if you are responsible for other people in your team, for sure, but it's a part of the trip. So, that are the kind of things that are you gonna have in charge when you launch a company. So in the case of being successful, you're gonna grow. So a lot of people is gonna be with you. So you are gonna be responsible for them. That's the way it works. So, and I assume as a natural part of the in this way to the successfully of our startup, I think.
Okay, great.
Hey, sorry, Sergio, for interrupting. There is a question in the chat from Gatlin. Thank you, Gatlin, for the question. How did you go about getting investors for your business? Did you approach a VC firm? Who's going to answer this?
My answer is very simple. I will answer in one sentence. I approached Startup Wise Guys and joined the Startup Wise Guys Accelerator program.
Yeah, from my point of view, I think it's necessary in terms of, the growing model of a startup. It's kind of, okay, you can start bootstrapping, you can stay with family, fools, and friends, but then suddenly you are going to need more money. And if you don't have the money, so the VC is the ones that are going to give you the money. So that's the way it works. I think you probably need to stay with VCs.
Yeah, pretty much the same. What Oscar is saying also applies, or is about us. We approached the VC firm, and of course we needed money to start out and not to have nitty-gritties in the house and slow development, but also to speed up from the beginning and get the growth to the house. So therefore, for sure, different VC firms were the ones who were approached, and the Startup Wise Guys with them.
Okay.
To maybe expand a little bit on that, it's if you just have an idea with no team and no company found, it's really difficult to approach a VC firm. That's quite obvious. VCs want to see some numbers as well, but other than that, most likely if you start building a startup, then at some point you need to talk to the VCs as well.
Now that we are touching this subject, Luisa, can we please show the slide number 3 about the help? No, the next one, please. That one. So this is one question we asked in LinkedIn. It's not specifically about VC, but it's about, the kind of help that is relevant when you go for a journey like this. And yes, I know that we might be biased, me and the panel, because we had a relationship with one VC pre-accelerator and even Founders Club here. But the public is also saying that it's very important. And if you are a little bit critical, then you end up that it's about 77% or 78% of the 87%, sorry, of the audience thinking that it's whether very important or important to have support from an incubator, Founders Club, Startup Club, or Startup Accelerator. In that sense, you guys, in your experience, what do you need or should look for when you evaluate with whom you want to work with?
If I may start here, it depends on the issues, what to deal with. And whenever we get to some kind of point where we need to solve something, of course, we need to, as my mentor once said, whenever you get to the trouble, you need to look into your phone book. And I'm not talking about phone book right now, but network overall. If there is something to be solved, then certainly there are people out there who could, if not give you the right answers, then at least think along and give you some recommendations. Be humble and listen to the others. That's probably what works the best. This is what we have followed. Yeah.
Is there, Argo, a specific moment, or it also depends on each case? I mean, you can approach this kind of support when you just get the idea in, pre-seed, pre-revenue,
Yeah, we are today in pre-seed phase and approaching seed round now. Of course, we have specific topics to deal with in that stage. When we grow bigger, then of course there will be something else. What we have done, we have involved advisors. And through the advisors, of course, some respected competence came in, what was very, very needed for us to develop further at that stage, whether it will be a long-lasting help from the same advisors to the later stages remains to be seen, but at least in the beginning it was very valuable and needed. Those topics what had to be solved at that time got a lot of help from the advisors.
Marti or Oscar, you guys want to comment on this one?
Yeah, for sure. I think I have been asked maybe 10 times or so, like, should I join Startup Wise Guys? Different people who have been founding companies have asked me, and the answer has been a little bit different. My favorite answer, of course, is it depends. So it depends on, I think it depends on the experience of the entrepreneur, whether they should or should not go to the accelerator program, let's say. Because if you have already built a successful startup, then this accelerator program has very little to offer you. Whereas I personally, I was coming, in university, I studied sports. I didn't have the economic background, neither building a product or doing marketing, sales, etc. For me, it was super useful. So it really depends on the background of the person, whether they should or should not join the accelerator. But with regards to, let's say, Estonian Founders Society, that I am also a member of, I definitely recommend being a member of different different groups, different startup groups, entrepreneur groups, that they definitely can help you getting the answers that you need. And you can also help with your experience. So that's always part of being a member of the group, that you bring some value and you get some value. So I very much agree with Argo on this, that you can get very valuable stuff from being a member of these groups.
Yeah, I completely agree with my two mates in the panel. So for me, as a participant in these acceleration programs, I think that you as an entrepreneur have to do some mistakes and learn about them, but some of them could be critical, and then you probably die. So from the acceleration point of view, I think that these critical are the ones that you're going to avoid staying in this kind of network. So the mentorship is great. In for example, in Startup Guys, I mean, it's kind of an amazing amount of talented people trying to help you in different ways. So I think this is very powerful and very necessary in these first steps of a company.
I think so too. I mean, I think that I have never seen a successful startup that has grown isolated, you know. It's not about only wise guys, which I fully recommend, as you might imagine, but it's also about, you know, getting the chance to bounce idea with people who is facing up similar problems that you are facing. It's also a sort of a support group, because it's a lonely road and it's full of ups and downs. I'm going to use the opportunity to remind you that we have open applications for Founders Club in Startup Wise Guys until February 14. So if you want to evaluate this alternative, please go into the website. Lisa, can we jump to the next slide?
Sergio, if I may,
please.
If I may. So according to our panelists, doing startup, it's not about reinventing the wheel, I would say, but also talking with the right people. Here in the chat, there is Fernanda, who asked for you, considering the socio-economic and political scenario, what are the main industries in the European innovation ecosystem that entrepreneurs should focus on in 2023? Thank you, Fernanda, for the question.
That's actually a very interesting question, but I think it's more a question to angel investors, which actually I happen to be as well. I have invested in 12 startup companies and also partner in Startup Wise Guys funds. But I understand investors think a lot like what's in, what's out. As an entrepreneur, my suggestion to entrepreneurs is always like that you should be doing business in the field that you like, what you enjoy. And if it happens to be not on the popular field on 2023, most likely you will not enjoy doing this very popular thing that you do not enjoy. So I recommend, as an entrepreneur, you should always focus on the things that you enjoy. But also as an investor, like what's in, what's out, that's great. But you have always your values that or some impact that you want to give to the world. So you better have your values in mind rather than that today is maybe crypto and AI and this stuff is in and maybe other stuff is a little bit on the background. So I suggest, follow your own way, like what you want to do.
Okay, shall we move on, Luisa, to the former slide about the idea? So there's a myth out there, probably that is not shared by most of the entrepreneurs, but some of us grew up listening up about the $1 billion idea, So you get the idea and you already have the money in the pocket, and it's so brilliant that the rest is going to be just downhill. Now the panel seems to be aware that this is not that important. So when we ask if how relevant is the idea itself, very relevant is 43%, relevant 38%. I like very much one of the comments, which was comparing, it's the last one that says both ideation and execution are equally important. And that's the thing I would like to get your opinion on, guys. I don't know, Argo, maybe you want to comment on this. What do you think? It's the idea, it's the execution, it's both. And, also in your experience, should you hold your $1 billion idea, or you should be ready to twist it again and again until it flowers up?
At first, of course, this is the idea what matters, and I like very much what Marti earlier was saying, that you need to deal with things that give you something in life, either it contributes to your values or you want to achieve something that is really meaningful for you, and deal with that. Otherwise, if you don't have a meaning in what you do, then you only work for money, and what's the fun there? I don't think the VCs want to come along if you only work for something that should bring in something for you, what you are expecting. But if you work for fun, enjoy what you're doing, then this is the most important thing. And if you have a great vision, there everything starts. But I totally agree with the last comment, what was on the slide there. Vision without execution is actually nothing. I think Japanese had a proverb, which was, if I remember correctly, saying that vision without action is dreaming. And pretty much if you have the vision only and you don't really move towards, then you're dreaming. If you don't have money, if you don't have resources, then that's a daydream only. But it actually goes the other way as well, the proverb. It says that the action without vision, believe it or not, they say it's nightmare. So you can't only start acting without having something good in mind. So twisting on the way, that's very important. You need to fine tune all the time what you do, and to get the better fit to your vision, how exactly that would work, and how to get the success out of it. But first of all, set the plans and then start executing and twist it on the way according to the feedback what you collect and everything else. In my view, execution is more complicated, a lot more complicated than setting a good vision.
Oscar, Marti, I saw Marti thumbs up, so I think he's got exactly the same point of view. Oscar, you want to say something?
Yeah, I completely agree with Argo. So, I mean, it's a mix of ideation and execution, timing, resources, market. So there is a lot of ingredients in the equation. I mean, it's very important, the ideation, but without execution is nothing. I mean, it's the same of to born entrepreneur or to become entrepreneur. I think it's a mix, So, yeah, completely agree on this.
I can expand a little bit as well, because this is again a slide where I can debate both points, that the idea is very relevant, and I can also debate the point that it's super irrelevant. And how I see that is exactly what Argo said. Very relevant is that you are doing what your heart desires to do. But why I think it's also irrelevant is that the point how precisely you want to vision your company and your product and business model and everything, because this is about to change when you are going. Your idea is about to change, and you have to face it. It's not going to be the same idea. So in that sense, it's irrelevant. but in a very broad sense that you are doing what you like to do, it's very relevant.
There are some questions in chat. It's pretty hot. The chat is becoming hot. Please continue to ask questions to our panelists. So starting from the first one, so let's do a quick round of question and answer because we have more than one question. First one is how COVID-19 have impacted the processes of creation and launching new startups, especially in terms of limitations for traveling, offline work, and collaboration. Up to you guys.
It's kind of funny because from my side, I launched the company in 2020 in February. Suddenly, on March, there was the lockdown. So it was supposed to be the worst scenario for launching a company, but then suddenly it was the best scenario. So because we have to develop software, so we can do working remote. So we are not having sales from the very beginning because we have to develop the product. So it was perfect for us just to code when the lockdown, for example. This is my case. So it's kind of crazy because probably a startup which was in that moment more mature and more in a growth stage, and for example, was in the tourism business, could be very, very bad impacted by the corona. But then suddenly others were really lucky because of the corona. So it's kind of crazy things. So it depends on your side.
All right, Argo, Martin, any thoughts about COVID, post-COVID startup life?
Certainly, COVID has changed the way how companies are organized in team today, and how the teams work. What is remote? Different definition, of course, and how often the teams come together. Things like this, but has it really impacted the launch of new companies? Probably the statistics is more smarter than I am here. Certainly it had. I could feel that it had some impact, but if I just think about the impacts overall, I think it was more important to the way the teams are organized and how we collaborate and cooperate with the others.
Thank you. Martin.
Yeah, I think also that the teamwork perspectives are a little bit different now, and that's definitely a plus because we see the other option as well, like to work remotely is getting more popular, which means like more talents is available to companies because you can hire from all over the world. Definitely it is a good thing. So I think like it made definitely some shift in the head of the entrepreneurs and also yes in work in general.
Okay, thank you for the answers. Let's move to the next one. Anika asks, how is the split of gender of applicant to Wise Guys? Because this panel is all men, but questions are mainly coming from women. So how do you feel about the gender split in the teams? I would ask, first of all, Sergio, representing Wise Guys here.
Yeah, I mean, to answer that question straightforward, I think it's around 70-30 for men, which we regret. We, as in Startup Wise Guys, we truly believe that diversity is a strength. So if we talk, for instance, about our employees, we're above 70 or around 70, and I think the split is the other way around. Actually, we have much more women to try to compensate this. We don't like the situation, but we are dealing with the resources that we have, We don't want to give favor to females because of being females. We want to treat them with the same level of respect and evaluate them, with the same level of complexity, if you will. But definitely we look with good eyes when we have diverse teams, not only in that sense, but also in terms of location and also in terms of know-how.
Okay, all right, Sergio, I will move to the next one. Skipping Gadlin question because she already asked some questions, so I'm pretty sure we will have additional time later on. Let's go to the Francesco's question. Hi, Francesco. What is the main reason why you founded several startups? Your vision and your why, have you changed during the years? So is the why changed during the years, why you became an entrepreneur?
From my side, it's an interesting story. So I was working for an oil and gas company. So I'm a corporate. I was a corporate for a lot of years, but suddenly I realized that I was an entrepreneur since the very beginning. So I jump into different duties within the company, different locations, different countries. So in some way, it's kind of starting new ventures within the same corporation. So then I realized that, hey, come on, I don't want to be one more in a large corp. I want to do things on my own within my ideas. So and I want changes every 2 or 3 years. So that's be an entrepreneur. So I realized that I have to launch my own stuff, and I decided to start launching my own company. So my why doesn't change anymore, but I suddenly launch new companies when I have the opportunity, or I'll see a business opportunity, and I decided to do.
What about you, Marty?
I think my why, I think my why hasn't changed a lot because when I went to university to become a physical education teacher, the point is that you want to make people more active. Like you want to help the world to be more active. So I then considered that I will start a company that is doing sport events. The why kind of stayed the same, but I could influence part of this sporty active people in the companies. It was Estonian Company Sport Federation that I founded. Then I thought that I can impact with creating a software product that helps people to find sports. At some point, if you have done one job or have stayed in one company long enough, you just want to change the surroundings or kind of you want to change the theme, but your why is still the same. I think that my why has stayed the same from university to today, but why I have changed companies and built several companies and left previous ones is that I think that the next venture I can do a little bit more than in the previous places.
Thank you, Marty. Argo, want to jump on this for a quick comment from yours?
This far, I've only founded one startup, and perhaps I'm not the right person to answer here. Give me a couple more years, and we'll come back to that.
All right. So we can only connect the dots afterwards. Probably before doing startups, you don't understand your why, but the why is there, and let's always start from the why. Sergio, up to you. The mic is yours.
Thanks. Lisa, can we go to the last slide? This is the last question that we posted in LinkedIn to get some opinions from the readers. What is the most important aspect when evaluating a co-founder? And, I think here another myth is being broken, which is a lot of people look for friends and people alike. And now what we get here is that most people think that you don't need people alike or friends. You need people with complementary skills, values, and working style is the most important one. So I don't know, guys, if you can describe the relationship you had with your co-founders, and make a point on what works and what doesn't work. Bear in mind, a lot of the audience is thinking about co-founding with somebody. So they might need some advice on how to go about this selection process, if you will, call it like that.
Okay, then I will go again first. Then coming back to the first question, I recommended a book called Super Founders. And Sergio, you just mentioned of breaking a myth. I'm about to break another myth for you right now, and this is a myth that you actually need a co-founder, and that's a myth that a lot of investors, VCs, they want to have. It's kind of the reason why they think that the co-founder is good. That if one founder fails, then another one pushes on, and it kind of makes the risk smaller. As fact, that studies show that it doesn't really matter how many founders the company has. To be a successful company, you can have one founder, you can have 20 founders. There is no correlation between the number of founders and the success of the company.
Wow, that's mind-opening. I was more in contact with VCs thinking that what happened if, the entire business depends on the only founder. But yeah, that speaks, I guess. I don't know if Argo or Oscar want to comment on this one?
That was indeed eye-opening what you, Marti, said, that a single founder can do the job. And why this is so important is probably because VCs want to mitigate the risks. But if we now stick to that and think about the co-founders and what is important there, the way how me and my co-founder teamed up was actually in the corporation where we came from. We set up a tandem there. We actually divided the management of the organization there. One was responsible for a certain part of the company. The other one was responsible for the other part of the company. This is how we worked. And we knew the roles of each other. We're totally different by the character. As I said, I'm more to the structures. He is totally a salesperson. So we are complementing each other. And that is very important. On the other hand, although we are complementing each other, we need to have the same ambitions. If one wants to keep steady and the other one wants to grow, then there is a clear conflict. Or in general, what is important in life? That is important, and more important is everything what is happening, or how do we behave in the organization, within the organization. We don't have to be the best buddies or friends outside of the business, but everything when it comes to the organization and what happens here, we need to agree on those things. Sometimes perhaps not to match on the value side immediately and entirely, because if you think about the diversity overall and the difference what people have, if we don't tolerate the differences at all, there will not be any diversity within any of the organizations. So therefore, we have to be open, tolerate, and these are very important things what to keep in mind, and those have to be the same for both of the founders. If there is a conflict, then you don't really go too far.
Thank you very much. Guys, we are approaching to the end of the session, so I'm going to kick in my best question. Bear in mind that what we have is an audience of people that have decided to go down this road or is questioning about it. So my question is, have we not talked about something that you believe it's really important and you want to say out loud for these people to consider? I know it's complex and deep. That's why I'm looking at the faces to see if you want to add something. Basically, if we miss something that you want to advise, go for it.
While you're thinking, I will ask you one more question from the chat, if it's okay, Sergio. From Gatlin,
Yeah.
She asks, what numbers do VC firms tend to look at when deciding to invest in a startup? So which numbers, metrics, factors? She currently have a feasibility study showing a cost-benefit ratio 1.3. Is that sufficient? So which factors which firm tend to look at?
I think that's a very long answer, right? And it depends on the VC, the company, and so on and so forth. But if you guys want to comment on that one or advise some reading material.
I mean, I have kind of the VCs kind of a rule. It's kind of the different T's: team, market size, traction, the trends, and this kind of stuff. There is a couple more, but traction. If you are talking about metrics, KPIs, it depends on the business, it depends on the sector, but something that shows them a kind of traction, good numbers, even if they are small, kind of growing numbers. The team has to be a powerful team, very complementary. So it was interesting. Also, the size of the market, if the opportunities, it's amazing. So it's going to be a plus. The traction, the team, the trends. If there is something interesting, for example, nowadays, if you are related to AI or if you are related to renewable energy or circular economy, so there are trends, big trends worldwide, that if you are in those trends, so it could be helpful. And the technology too, another T, which has to be very cool technology. So I think there are different things that are important from a VC point of view.
Okay, thank you, Oscar.
That's actually, yeah, I wanted to add a little bit that actually this is what every startup is pitching in their pitch, and that is what VCs ask from you. But I was kind of thinking like that actually they from this they will only put like a yes or no answer, and what is the actual data that they want to know. If they say yes or they say no, is that will this company kind of bring back all the money that they have kind of that they need, because they invest into several companies, but they want to see that the one company has to be super successful. And finally, they have to believe that this is the one company that will become super successful. I know this is kind of yes or no, that they from all this data, they kind of have to believe that your company is the one that brings the money back to them.
Thank you, Marty.
Okay, guys. If we are approaching the end, so unless you want to say have some final words, I'll say mine first. Thank you very much for being here with me, for sharing, taking the time for sharing. I think this is one of the things that I like the most about the entrepreneurship network. I mean, they tend to help each other. So thank you also to the audience. And I don't know, Oscar, Argo, Marty, want to say final words?
Just thank you for inviting me and to share with these incredible entrepreneurs as panelists. So thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Have a nice day and start a successful company now.
Same from me. If you think about coming away from corporation and want to establish something, then you probably have thought about it quite long already, and there will be hard. It might be hard to make the first step, but whenever you do that, then you have a road ahead. Keep calm, stay focused, and go for your vision, whatever it is. The others will believe you if you're really believing in yourself, believing what you have started, and clearly understand how impactful your business will be. Thanks a lot for inviting Startup Wise Guys. It was a pleasure to take part here.
Yeah, and if you forgot your question to write it here, you can send to me in LinkedIn later on as well. If you remember a question, then write and I can answer.
Exactly, Marty. I was almost to say that I see some more questions, but time is running up. So you can find us starting from Sergio, Oscar, Argo, Martin, and me on LinkedIn. So feel free to reach out to us for asking more questions or doubts you may have on Wise Guys in general, Founders Club in particular, and the life of being an entrepreneur.
Thank you, guys. Have a lovely evening.